Dạ vâng ạ, xin chào tất cả quý vị và các bạn đã tham dự vào chương trình IELTS Webinar hội thảo IELTS về IELTS Writing ngày hôm nay. Chúng ta sẽ bắt đầu buổi hội thảo của chúng ta sau ít phút nữa thôi ạ. Vâng, để bắt đầu chương trình thì các bạn có nghe rõ mình đang nói không ạ? Có ạ.
Tốt rồi em.
Hello, Mr. Adam Gervin. Could you check your mic, please?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you perfectly.
Hello, shall I begin now?
Yes, I will begin by say hi to all the audience, and then to your part, I will and then I will invite you when my part's finished. Yeah.
Okay, no problem.
Vâng ạ, xin kính chào tất cả quý vị và các bạn cùng em học sinh đã tham dự vào chương trình hội thảo IELTS ngày hôm nay của chúng ta. Hội thảo IELTS ngày hôm nay của chúng ta với một tên gọi là chiến lược hoàn hảo chinh phục IELTS Writing cùng với chuyên gia Hội đồng Anh, thầy giáo Adam Gervin là một chuyên gia IELTS tại Hội đồng Anh. Và hôm nay chúng ta sẽ có những cái chia sẻ hết sức là thú vị và bổ ích liên quan đến kỹ năng IELTS Writing. Để trước khi chúng ta bắt đầu chương trình ngày hôm nay thì tôi xin được giới thiệu một đôi nét về ban tổ chức và chương trình của chúng ta. Chương trình của chúng ta được tổ chức cùng kết hợp giữa AMES English và Hội đồng Anh British Council. Và để giới thiệu đôi nét về AMES English thì tôi xin có một chút giới thiệu ngắn về AMES English dưới đây. AMES English là hệ thống Anh ngữ quốc tế chuyên nghiệp hàng đầu tại Việt Nam với 28 chi nhánh trên toàn quốc. Với hơn 100.000 học sinh cùng 350 giảng viên chất lượng, và trong 18 năm hoạt động của mình, AMES English đã có thành hàng ngàn, chục ngàn học sinh đang theo học và đã đạt và vượt cam kết. Trong các khóa học của AMES English nổi bật là các học luyện thi IELTS đảm bảo đầu ra, tiếng Anh cho trẻ em, thiếu niên, chuẩn quốc tế Cambridge, và các khóa học tiếng Anh trực tuyến giao tiếp. Chương trình hội thảo ngày hôm nay của chúng ta sẽ gồm có một số cái phần như sau. Tôi xin được giới thiệu một số phần của hội thảo ngày hôm nay. Thứ nhất là chúng ta có một phần đăng ký số may mắn Lucky Draw để có thể nhận được phần quà hấp dẫn. Ở phần này thì các bạn sẽ rất là đơn giản, thủ tục rất là đơn giản thôi. Mọi người sẽ đăng nhập vào cái link ở đây. Tí nữa tôi sẽ để lại cái link ở trên chat box cho tất cả mọi người có thể vào đăng ký. Thì mọi người sẽ đăng ký, tất cả các bạn sẽ đăng ký tên và số điện thoại. Tại đó chúng ta sẽ khi mà sau khi kết thúc cái phần chia sẻ của thầy giáo thì chúng ta sẽ có một cái phần lucky draw là chúng ta sẽ quay tên, bốc thăm người may mắn. Và ở phần này thì chúng ta sẽ có 5 phần thưởng dành cho các bạn may mắn nhất. Như vậy các bạn chỉ cần để lại tên và số điện thoại thôi. Chúng ta đăng ký vào cái link này, thì nữa tôi sẽ gửi cái link này dưới chat box, và chúng ta tí nữa chúng ta sẽ có thời gian để điền vào link này sau ạ. Chúng ta giới thiệu một chút về phần quà ở trong phần lucky draw này. Thứ nhất là sau khi các bạn đăng ký xong thì phần cuối tôi sẽ sử dụng một cái trang web random để có thể chọn ra 5 người may mắn nhất. Ở phần này chúng ta sẽ có một phần quà trị giá 400.000 đồng là một buổi học 1-1 trực tuyến với các chuyên gia IELTS tại AMES English. Ở khóa học này thì chúng ta sẽ được có thời gian để có thời gian. Yeah. Hello. Yeah, I'm like introducing the main content of the season today. Yes, next là chúng ta sẽ đến phần thứ hai, là nó sẽ là phần chính của chúng ta, là phần giới thiệu và chia sẻ của thầy giáo về IELTS Writing. Và phần tiếp theo nữa chúng ta sẽ có một phần hỏi đáp Q&A, mọi người có thể để lại câu hỏi tại phần chat box. Và phần cuối cùng chúng ta sẽ có phần Lucky Draw, may mắn để dành cho tất cả mọi người vẫn còn đang ở lại đến tận cuối cùng của hội thảo ngày hôm nay. Và tôi xin nói một chút về phần quà tại phần Lucky Draw của chúng ta. Giới thiệu một chút về phần quà ở phần này ạ. Ở phần này thì chúng ta sẽ có một phần thưởng là một buổi học 1-1 với chuyên gia IELTS tại speaking tại AMES English, là nằm trong khóa học IELTS Speaking Plus, là để giúp cho các bạn có thể có được những cái chiến thuật luyện thi IELTS và chuẩn bị tâm lý kỹ càng để có thể thi IELTS, và nó rất là phù hợp với các bạn đang chuẩn bị thi rồi, cũng như là phù hợp cho các bạn có thể kiểm tra là trình độ của mình đang ở đâu. Thì chúng ta sẽ đăng ký tại đây và sẽ nhận phần quà may mắn vào cuối buổi. Dạ vâng, sau đây thì tôi sẽ xin giới thiệu phần chính của chúng ta, chính là thầy giáo Adam Gervan sẽ có phần chia sẻ về nội dung chính về IELTS Writing. Hello, Mr. Adam Gervan. I finished my part introducing the main content of this webinar today. So this is your part now. Are you ready to share the screen? Yeah, so we're gonna wait a little bit. Mr. Adam Gervan, I finished the parts of introducing the main contents of this webinar. So could you share your screen? And we're gonna start the main content of our.
Yes.
Yeah, you.
Sorry about that. Hello, there was some lagging problems.
Yes. Yeah, we can hear you.
I'm sure everyone has had some internet problems since we've been going online. Hello, everyone. I am Adam. Okay. And I'm going to take you through today's webinar. Okay. So today's webinar is going to be about writing, the writing section. Okay. So just to let you know, I've been with the IELTS exam team since 2013. I used to be an IELTS writing marker, and I am a teacher and presenter for IELTS in Vietnam. So let's have a look then, first of all. Shall we ask, what do you know about the writing test? Okay. Could you say, how long does the writing test last for? Have some answers in the chat box. How long is the writing test? "60 minutes, yes. How many? Yeah, an hour, 60 minutes. Good, Para. Yeah, good use of different language there. How many tasks are in the writing test? Yes, 2 tasks in the writing test. And which task do students usually find most difficult? Interesting. Task 2. And I'll ask, why? Why do people find task 2 the most difficult? General topic? It is a general topic, yes. Yeah, it is a general topic. So, task 1 is more of an academic topic. And what you would have to do is describe a graph, chart, table, map, or process. Possibly, if it's general, you have a letter of complaint. Task 2 is a general essay responding to a point of view, argument, or problem. Tends to be the case. So these things often are what we have to do. We recommend when you do task 1 to spend, task 1, you spend about 20 minutes. Task 2, around 40 minutes. So the total time, 60 minutes. We recommend you spend that much time, recommended. You choose that. It's your test. So you decide what you do, what's better for you. Okay, if you look at the top corner now, you can get the writing assessment criteria. So you can get task 1 and task 2. There you can get the band descriptors. They've also been sent in the chat box. So let's look at this writing assessment criteria. Have a look at these now, the pictures. What are we marking IELTS on? Yeah. So the first one, task achievement. How well can you write the task? Are you in task achievement, in bullet points? Are you using all the key features? Okay. Task response, which is a task 2. How much of the task response are you doing? Are you able to develop a proper answer for task 2? Next one, coherence and cohesion. Okay, this is understand you. Can we understand what you're saying? Can you write clearly? The next one, the people find most difficult is lexical resource. Can you write the right words to answer the question? Finally, can anyone guess what else we're marking on? Grammar. Okay. This is longer and shorter sentences, and it is what we call formal grammar. So that's something that we will go into during this. So today, what we will be doing is my aim is to give you more information about task 1 and task 2 of the IELTS writing test, and to give you a few hints and tips about task 1 and task 2 of the IELTS writing test. We will start with task 1 and go into different parts of the assessment criteria. Then we'll look into task 2 and show you different question types and the best way to write questions and paragraphs. We will have a couple of vocabulary exercises. And then after that, we will tell you about what we can do at the British Council IELTS department to tell you how you can best prepare for the IELTS test in your own way, because everyone has different times and everyone has different facilities to prepare. Okay, so hope you are well and hope you're ready. Let's begin. So in task 1, okay. I'm going to ask you some questions. Okay. How many words do we need to write for task 1? How many words do we need to write in task 1? Yes, correct. I can see answers here, 150 words. How many minutes do we recommend for task 1? How many minutes should you take? I'm very impressed, guys. Yes. Yes, you're totally right. 100% correct. And what can we say about task 1? Well, the task 1 is academic for this one. So academic, you're studying or you're doing the IELTS test so you can study at university, okay? Or so you can work somewhere. And it's, task 1 is one of these things where you have to look at a diagram. What kinds of diagrams do you think you may look at in task 1? In task 1, you look at different kinds of diagrams. We're going to look at 2 today, but you will have pie chart, line graph, bar chart, or a table. They're the main figures. But also you can be looking at a map, possibly a process diagram. So we're going to look at today 2 different types of graphs and charts, plus a map. So if you look here, first of all, I'm going to ask, what do we call this? What do we call this picture? Excellent, yes. This picture is a bar chart, okay? And that's the first thing I would say. Make sure you know what picture you are writing about, because you don't want to say line graph if you're writing about a bar chart. This is bar chart, and you can see what it is. As you can see this in the bar chart, they will show you the number of men and women in further education in Britain. and where are they studying full-time or part-time. Have a look at the bar chart now. What are the main features for this bar chart? What are the big changes or the big things you can see between the years? And slowly, I'll go through the things with you, okay? So if you look at the bottom of the bar chart, this is the x-axis. These are years for the bar chart. If you look at the left of the bar chart, you've got the y-axis, okay? And this is the number in thousands of men and women in further education. We also have a bar chart guide, okay? So you'll find, if you see my arrow here, this will show you that the black is people in full-time education, and that the grey is people in part-time education. So quite a lot of information here already, and you have to write 150 words. So how do we think about this? Well, the first thing we'd have to do is decide what the key features might be and what the biggest changes are. Have a look at this now, and when you're ready, write in the chat box what you think are the 3 or 4 biggest changes in this chart. So let's have a look at what the changes would be in this chart and how you would describe it. Okay. Can you see this one here? Is that, what changes that? Has it gone up or has it gone down?
Các bạn điền vào chat box đi ạ. Các bạn điền câu trả lời vào chat box.
And then look at the female side. Oh yeah, and say, you see there's a male and then there's a female. You can see there is, it went down for male and then it's gone back up. But for female, it's gone up. And a fluctuation, very good word to be used. Excellent. And then can you see the full-time education for male? Is that gone up or is that gone down? As you see in male, part-time education is fluctuating. It's down, then up. But for female, part-time education has just gone up. What about full-time education in male? As you can see, it has risen. But for female, full-time education, has that increased or decreased for female? It has increased. Excellent. Yes. So these are key or main features. Okay. As you see here, there are 4. Generally, you're looking at between 4 to 6 main features. Sometimes a few more, sometimes 1 less. But that is what you're looking for in every task 1. It's the first thing you have to do is look for the key features. And to do this, you need to plan a little bit. So depending on where you are, computer, or maybe you're in the writing test, it's always good to have pen available, you know, have some paper available too. And you can make some notes of what is happening. So this is the example of what the possible main features are. I want to show you this because this is the kind of language you would have to use in task 1. And this is why some people find it a little bit more challenging, a little bit more difficult than task 2 because of the writing style, because you have to write about figures. Let's have a look at this one here, okay? Can anyone tell me, what is this? What are you looking at right now?
Maps.
Wow, you're right, looking at 2 maps. One map is nowadays. Is the other map in the past or is it in the future?
In the past.
It's in the past, yes, in 1986. And this is a town, as it says, from 1986 to the present day. So in the bar chart, you had to see what has increased, what has decreased. What do you need to show in a map? What kind of things are they asking for in a map?
I think it's probably building transformation.
Yes. So have a look at these maps now, and in the chat box, message, what changes do you see? So everyone, can you message one change that you see from the map in 1986 and the map we see now? You have 1 minute to give me one change on the chat box. What kind of changes can you see? Looking at 1986, looking at now. No more farmland. Yes, I can see that. What is there instead? There's no more farmland. What do we see there? More houses. I say no more shops. No, there isn't. So more houses instead. Looks like a bigger primary school. Yes, definitely a bigger primary school. No more gardens. What is there now? If there's no garden, what is there? What is changed? A new retirement house. Yes. So looking at that, these are what they want you to know in a map. They want you to show the changes. So that is the difference between a graph or a chart. They want to show the differences in increase, decrease, trends. In a map, they want you to show, they want changes. And they want to see what was there before and what has changed now. And that is a big difference to the task 1 charts. So I recommend that you look at every task 1 type. Every question type you can get in task 1, have a look at it, because there are about 6 diagrams: bar chart, line graph, pie chart, table, map, as we're looking at, and a process diagram. So there we go. You're correct. You've got everything that we've said is the key features here. There's a large, more houses. There's less farmland. There's no shops. There are more roads built as well. There's been a retirement home built. There's no garden anymore. There's a bigger primary school. And yet we still have the post office and we still have the bridge. So these are things to consider when you've got key features in part 1. There's always around 4 to 6 key features. Could be a few more, could be a few less, but that's what you have to think about. When you look at part 1, can you see if there are 4, 5, or 6 key features, 6 trends, or 4 to 6 trends, or 4 to 6 changes that you can make notes down in, and then pen and paper. Okay. Another big part of task 1 are overviews. Okay. Overviews are a vital part of task 1. Without an overview, your band, your task achievement band can be quite. So without a task achievement band, it can't go higher. Okay, so when I think about task achievement bands, it depends what you want, but an overview is needed if you want to go further than the band 5. So, you're looking at band 6, an overview is a definite need. But an overview, what is a good overview? Have a look at the bar chart now for a moment and think. X-axis, the months. Y-axis is the yearly rainfall. 2 big cities, Moscow, San Francisco. What is the overall trend in this situation? Okay. Now, have a look at these overviews and think, which one would you think is the best overview? A, B, C, or D? Have a look now. Which do you think would be the best overview? So in the chat box, you can type in A, type in B, type in C, type in D. Which one you think might be the best to put for an overview in this situation?
Dạ vâng, các bạn điền đi ạ. Vâng ạ, đã có cái đáp án ở dưới đấy ạ. Okay, there's a lot of answer in the chat box. Yeah.
Yes, there are. I can see. Okay. Yes, good, good, good. Excellent. Okay, a lot of C, and I will totally agree with you. C is an acceptable one. And I think that would be the most suitable one. And also, I would look at D. So C and D would be the most correct. Yeah. So if you look at these, I would definitely put C, D. Good overview. They give you a good picture of what is happening. It's a general picture of the trend that has happened with the main rainfall. And I would say that my overview would be that San Francisco is a much fluctuating pattern, just by the idea that it's up, down all the time, whereas Moscow is a bit more stable. But generally, the distribution is widely different. So C is also an acceptable one. Yeah. Both are absolutely fine in this situation. And so when we look at task one, you have to think about an overview and what would be the most appropriate one. The questions of overview, though, is how you would group it. How do you group information? And that's a big thing to think about when you're doing stuff. How can you group the information to suit it? Let me give you some options here of what you could do to group the information. Have a look at this. This is an IELTS task one, and this is academic staff percentages in faculties by gender 2012. The x-axes are the subjects. The y-axes are the percentages. So it says describe, groupings. How would you group these? Would you group them by just doing it separately, which is 7 different ones? Would you group it like B? Would you group it like C? Would you group it like D or like E? Okay. Have a look at the graph and then decide which one would you put, A, B, C, D, or E. Answers in the chat box. Okay, C's already there. Any more? Have a look. I'll give you about 30 more seconds, or 1 more minute, to be fair. Excellent. Some good some answers here. The ones that I'm glad you put these, because if you do that, it just becomes too much of a, it's not a problem, but what the problem is it's just the same. You're using the words from the task a lot, and you want to try to use some different words where possible. So describing them in order, it feels a little bit boring and it's a bit too much process. And describing each one, you would almost sound the same when you're writing. B, arts, business and education. I mean, medicine and science, good. It's a good group, I guess. You could do that. Engineering and law, I don't think I could do that. It doesn't make sense. They're not connected. And arts, business and education, again, it doesn't really connect with that. So the ones or the options I would look at would be these. If you look at these, it sort of equals the choices between which facilities or which faculties have more men and which faculties have more women. Okay, so C would help with that. You can categorize it better by doing it that way, because you can write about females and males. Okay. If you look at D, they have the faculties that have got the biggest differences. And so you can then look at what percentages there are in the differences. And that would also help. It allows us to compare the degrees of difference, so we can use some comparative language. Okay. And if you look at some of the biggest differences here, one big difference in there. What is the biggest difference between male and female in this chart? Which subject has more males than females? As you see, with more males than females, it's in engineering. And in that sense, you could put just engineering alone by focusing on that big change. Then you could also look at arts and education, because arts and education, do they have more males or more females in arts and education? And then in science, business and law, are there more males or are there more females? This is how they could do it. So in E, you could do engineering, more males, far more males. Science, business and law, there are more males as well. Arts and education, there are more females. And then medicine, it's slightly more female, but it's pretty equal. So that's why they would look at grouping. To group means you can use comparative language, right? And if you use comparative language, you're able to show grammar styles, and also you're able to use different kinds of words that will allow that the IELTS task will want you to show. Okay, so those are big things that you look to do in this situation. And so the main thing here, if I look at it, is to consider IELTS Task 1, academic. Okay, it's formal. You compare key features. And you have an overview. And one thing I will say, no. Can't have any opinions or predictions or guesses about the picture, okay? You can't just kind of say, well, there are more women in education and arts because that is more of a female type of subject, and that's why there are more women there, because it's a softer subject. You can't say that. That's an opinion. You don't say things like that. You just look at the figures. Look at the actual picture and write about the picture. Don't predict anything either. Don't think, okay, if in 1986 they had more farmland, now they have no farmland, it's possible that there'll be even less farmland in the future. You can't do that because you don't know. And remember, it's an exam. They want you to write what you see in the exam. And that's a big, big thing. Okay, so I'll just look quickly at general. Okay, general task and academic task. Okay, in academic, you kind of study. So academic is about further study and generally, etc. General task is if you move abroad and don't study. Okay, that is a general task. And in this, you have a letter and you have to write a letter. Now, the general task is just to move abroad. It's not to go and study a master's or a bachelor's or a PhD. It is something that if you go through it, you move abroad and then you find a job. That's what the general task is. So you have to be very clear with what you want to do. I mean, you've got to use all the bullet points. You need a clear purpose when you're writing a letter. You need to be kind of ready for what kind of letter? You know, is it a business letter? Is it a letter to a friend? And then you've got to make sure you use the correct letter format, you know, like dear sir, give reason for letter, kind regards. So as you see here, this would be an example of a writing task 1. It's an everyday situation. Okay, it could be formal, it might be informal. It's always something that people face every day. It's always an everyday topic. There are 3 points that you need to look at in task 1. 1, 2, 3. You need to do all of them. You need to answer all 3 bullet points. You answer 2, task achievement goes down. You also need to think about how you use the correct tone. You need to have the correct tone gives you the purpose, and the purpose is important in a letter. A purpose tells you why you're writing the letter. Vocabulary is a key part of the letter in task 1. You need to be able to know the difference between formal and informal English. And that's a big thing in task 1 letters. Let's have a look now. In the chat box, I'm going to ask you some stuff. So think about these. Look at A and look at B. Is A formal or informal? Is B formal or informal? So is A formal or informal and B formal or informal? So yeah, A is informal. It's to a friend, okay? It could be to family. It's always informal. Informal is casual. Okay. And B is formal because it's to a company, okay? So informal, it's going to be more like friends, family. Formal, it's likely to be company or businesses or services that you need to write to. So informal is more closer relationships. Formal is relationships that are more professional. And you need to think about how to write the English to support that. So let's have a look now. How's it going? Is that formal or informal? Write it in the chat box. If you think formal or informal, let me know. Informal, excellent. This one, formal or informal? Very good, yes. Best wishes, is this formal or informal? Yes, totally. Let me know what you think. Formal or informal? Yours sincerely. Is that formal or informal? Yes, definitely formal. Yours sincerely. You're writing hoping that they will respond and be polite about it. So think about it, informal in the letter. Is everyday English. Formal, it's more professional English. So tone decides this. So your language will decide the tone, which then decides the purpose of why you're writing the letter. And this is something that in task 1, academic and letters, you have to think about preparing, planning, and then practice. Okay, so feel free to contact us and write down any questions you may have, as we will answer some questions at the end of the webinar. Okay. What about this one? Formal or informal? Sorry, it's been ages since my last letter. Informal, yeah. I would appreciate it if you could please. Is that formal or informal? Formal, definitely. Okay, so remember, task 1, academic. Make sure you get the key features. Write in formal language. Include an overview. And make sure that you group the data or the image data together and don't write it individually. Let's go on to task 2 now. Task 2. What do we have to write in a task 2? Can anyone tell me on the chat box what kind of writing do we need to do in task 2? Do we need to write a report or a letter, or do we need to write something else? Now I'm going to ask you for task 2 as well in the chat box. How many words do we need to write? Task 2. How many words? Answers in the chat box. Yes. $250 words, okay? And what we need to do is answer the whole question, okay? Just in parts. So, if you think about this here, answer the whole question. Okay? You write 250 to 300 words. We've got idea, support it, and give an example. And what's important is giving a clear position. You don't just write different ideas and hope it comes together. Make it very clear, okay? So in IELTS task 2, you have a topic and a task. I've just put the words for the topic and the task here. So which color is the topic in? And you tell me which color in the chat box and you see the topic in. Red. Yes, excellent. Now you can see there is a task. Which color is the task in? Yes, blue. So this is important in task 2. Why would be what you would ask. Well, you need to, for the topic in task 2, you need to highlight the key words. So highlight main words to show the topic. That way you know what it is. As you see in here, a big rise in international tourism. Okay, so that means international tourism has gone up. In terms of the task, also very important, task. What do you have to do? This is also a very important thing. As we see here, advantages and disadvantages. Okay. So let me show you now on number 2 as an example. The topic is people travel overseas for their holidays. And then the task. What are the reasons? And what problems can it cause? Okay, in the chat box now, number 3. Number 3. Topic. What are the main words? So, code 1, tourism. What are the main words for the topic number 3? Some good stuff there. Excellent, excellent, excellent. So remember that the topic words or content words will be the real words, like words. They are meaningful. You will write about them. So that is why you've got to find these content words, because you've got to write about these in task 2. Let's look at number 3 now and think, what is the task type? What are they asking for? Here. Yes, yes. Excellent. Yes, yes. Reasons and solutions. Excellent. And these are the key words. Tourism is popular. It can affect some natural places. Okay. Why does it happen? How about number 4? Let's have a look at number 4. What are the main content words in number 4? What would be the number 4 topic words? Answers in the chat box. What do you think would be those topic words? Huge international events. Any more topic words? Costly mistake. Yeah. Excellent. Great advantage, costly mistake. Excellent. Yes. And what do you think would be the task type? What are they asking you to do? Is it advantages, disadvantages? Is it not? Says your opinion, discussion. This is interesting. Discussion, yes. But discuss what? Do we discuss one side? Do we discuss two sides? Yes, excellent. We discuss both views and give own opinion, okay? And that is a little bit different to the next one, but I'll show you. So yeah, definitely huge international events, great advantage, but also mistake. But you've got to discuss both views and give your opinion. Okay, let's look at number 5. Number 5, topic words. What are they? Answers in the chat box. What do you think those topic words might be? Exams, yeah, or way of doing what? What's it doing? And what's happening? So we've got a few more words to think about as well there. Exams are, or way. Exams cause stress. Exams cause unnecessary stress for students. Yeah. What's the task type? It's not the task type for this one. Discuss both views and give your own opinion. It's not. It's do you agree or disagree? So it's one, if you can. Find one position. Talk about agreeing or disagreeing. So this one is write a whole essay about agreeing if you can, or write a whole essay about disagreeing. Doing both it's not the question type. They're not asking for that. So you've got to try not to do it that way. But let me show you. There we go. To what extent do you agree? So if you don't agree, you can just say at the beginning, I don't agree, and then spend a whole essay about why you don't agree. If you do agree, you can say, I do agree. Write a whole essay about why you agree. Why have I taken a little more time with this? Well, to me personally, from my experience, one of the biggest problems in the IELTS task responses wasn't the use of words or the use of grammar. It wasn't even coherence or cohesion in task 2. It was because people misread the question. And that is, I don't want to emphasize enough how important it is to read the topic and question as carefully as possible. Okay. Because if you don't, you could write an answer that could be completely off topic. Okay. And not reading it correctly, you could be off topic. or answer the wrong question. You know, you could be on topic, like, for example, and instead of talking about both of the viewpoints, you could talk about advantages, disadvantages, and that's not what they're asking. You could, in 5, talk about how you agree with stuff, but how it's a poor way to, you know, our exams give unnecessary stress, but then you're not evaluating students' ability. So you have to think about all of this. So I've emphasized and spent a little more time on this one. And the reason I have is because I want to make it clear. Read the question carefully. Because this, in my experience, has been one of the biggest problems with candidates whenever they've answered an IELTS Task 2 question, is that they just go in, question, write it, and then, you know, they get like 200 words in and like, oh no, I've answered the wrong question. So make sure that you try and answer that. It's a key one. Okay. Let's look at these different task types, okay? As you see, do the advantages of the trend rate outweigh the disadvantages? Discuss both views and give your own opinion, okay? That means you must explain both sides of the argument. You must talk about everything, okay? There's no way around this. If you don't talk about one of them, you're not fully answering the question, and you need to fully answer the question for your task responses to go up, and, you know, everything else follows. Is this a positive keyword or negative development? Okay. Always look for that word, or. Okay. So in task types, and or are important words. And means you've got to do everything, or means you can choose. And that means that you only need to write about one side. And so I want to emphasize how important that is to make sure that you know the topic and to make sure you answer the question that's asked. Let's look at coherence and cohesion. Okay, what you need to be able to do here is organize ideas, really. You kind of have paragraph 1 to conclusion, things like that, okay? So when we organize ideas, we do it in different ways. Let me show you task 1 and task 2 so it's clearer. If you think about this, in task 1, you do an introduction, okay? This means you take the question, you rewrite the question, and then it's the start. Then you write your key features, you know, what are the main features, and then you write the data from the image you see, put it together. I'd recommend then you write the overview at the end. You've got your introduction, you've written all your key features, and then you know then you can put an overview based on what you wrote. Some people will do introduction first, then they do an overview, then the key features. That's fine too. It does not affect your mark, but you just got to remember when you write the overview first that you group your data to match your overview, okay? And I know personally when I do exams, I get nervous. I get very nervous. It takes me time to calm down. So I like to do the overview at the end, like a conclusion, a bit like that, you know, because Then I know how I've grouped it. I know what I've put together. And then I can just write 1 or 2 sentences to make sure I've got an overview. However, you don't need to do it that way. It's just a recommended way to calm you down, perhaps in the exam. You may have a different style. Now with task 2, it's a little bit different. You know, you've got an introduction. Again, rewrite the question. After you rewrite the question, you need to think your position. What are you going to write about? And that depends on the task type. As an example, agree or disagree. What extent do you agree or disagree? Well, if I take a task type like that, I'm going to say, well, I agree to this because of this. Then my first body paragraph, it will be why I agree, I support it, I give an example. Then my second body paragraph, I'm going to then give another reason why I agree, perhaps linked to my first body paragraph reason. And I'm going to support it again and explain why. And then I'm going to give a further example so I can round off that paragraph. So it's a clear central paragraph. After that, I'm going to give a conclusion as to why I did this. And so these are the slight differences between task 1 and task 2. And this is the kind of thing, structure, I would recommend that you look into as well, that you further look at studying, because it's not something you can go into the exam and do. Some people can be really good at English and they go into the IELTS exam and, you know, they can be a little bit disappointed at the end because they didn't know the exam format, the way that the IELTS exam is organized. I'd recommend any of you to know how to approach this exam. How do you prepare for this exam? In task 2, we're going to look at body paragraphs, okay? And this is how I would do it. You give your idea, your topic sentence. Then you support it with some statements, explain your idea a little more. And then you give an example and give some evidence, okay? So let's have a look. Just have a read now for a moment of this example. This is an example of what it's like. And so, as you see, the first sentence here, in my opinion, globalization is a positive development for mankind. Already you know what their position is for this paragraph. You know what they're going to talk about. This is what you'd call your topic sentence, okay? And the next one is to talk about how it's positively, why it's positive. It's a distribution of labor. And it will explain a little more until the end where it gives a good example. The example is the travel industry and how it's helped the travel industry. So you can see here in the red, globalization is the topic sentence and the idea. The blue explains things a little more and gives an example. And that's what you're looking to do in the task 2. So beginning, a few of you said task 2 is the one you don't like the most because it's longer. It it's like you've got to write a lot. If you know how to make an order, make a structure, an idea, and then support it and then give examples, you can find it, you can write it quite quickly. So I just think that you just need to plan. Okay. Now, I want you to read the rest of this paragraph. There are 3 choices for a topic sentence that could go at the beginning of this paragraph. In the chat box, tell me which one you would use. Would you use sentence A, sentence B, or sentence C? Okay, I'll give you 1 minute. Okay, a few going saying B, 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 B. Okay. Okay, it's interesting because you say there are several reasons why camping is good for your health. And I can see the first supporting sentence says relieving stress, breathing in the fresh air. So let's have a look, see why it would be C. Because it only talks about that for 1 sentence, really. It also mentions other things like how it's cheaper to go camping. And you get away from everyday modern life. So this is the thing. The topic sentence has got to be meaningful, has to be relevant to what you're writing about. If it says camping is good for your health, that's good. You could talk about stress, but then give examples of why walking is there, why people maybe go and build fires or whatever. As long as your supporting claims match your topic sentence, that is what matters. Okay. So for this one, it's telling you different things about camping, why camping would be popular. Have a look at this one now. Which one would be the topic sentence? A, B, or C? I'll give you 1 minute. Yeah, so B again, same tourist here. Okay, excellent, excellent. So let's have a look and see. Correct. Why? Because it's got different reasons and it shows you signposting language, like the most important reason. And then give some support and example. Another important reason, some supporting claims and an example. Then finally, to wrap it all up. And that's why you can see that tourists should visit Nepal. So very, very good. Now, if you see some of these sentences are formal sentences, they're longer. And yes, if you're preparing for the IELTS test, you're going to need to do some preparation for this. So study will be important. And so when you've got to think about linking, you've got to think about linking devices. And these are some linking devices that are useful when writing essays, whatever essay that you write. So I'm going to give you a few of these now, okay? And I want you to think about what words you would lose to link the sentence together, okay? So I will give you 2 parts to a sentence. You choose the linking words, write them down, and then post them on the chat box. I will give you suggested answers at the end. First sentence. People continue to smoke. People suffer from respiratory. What's the phrases that we could use to link these 2 sentences together? I'm going to give you 30 seconds for each one. See what you can get me. What could you do to link that? People continue to smoke, therefore people suffer from respiratory problems, yeah? Or so, people continue to smoke, so people suffer from, as a result, yeah, good, good. But let's say these markers, it's okay if you say people continue to smoke, full stop, then begin a new sentence. But what about in the middle of the sentence? What could you put in the middle? So think about something like that, despite the fact. So you can make a bigger sentence, right? Because if you think about people continue to smoke, that's okay. The answers are all correct. What about people continue to smoke? Then you would have to have a full stop and then say as a result, because you wouldn't be able to put it in the middle of the sentence. And the same with therefore, well, that is the reason why. And do we want many short sentences? No, we want to show that we can use linking words to make longer sentences in writing. So, what about this one? What could I put in the middle of this sentence? Manchester is one of the biggest cities in England. London is bigger. What could I put? To make that one sentence, what could I put? Yeah, good. However, London is bigger. Manchester is one of the biggest cities in England, comma. However, London is bigger. Excellent, good. Any more? So all these are contrasting markers to show contrasts, okay? Look at this one now. What could I put in there? People in Southern Europe live longer. They eat a Mediterranean diet. What could I say? Because, very good, the best one. Don't use it too often though, because the grammar structures, if you keep using because, it becomes a restricted, shows that you're not exploring. And in grammar, they want you to explore. So it is an important part of grammar. Yes, you're totally right, it is. Due to the fact, since, because. How about this one? Mm-hmm. But would we say unless in that one? There is normally enough drinking water unless it rains a lot in the winter. Seems a bit contrasting here, Wouldn't you be saying it rains a lot in the winter, which means that there's enough drinking water? So the water and the rain, they connect. So how would we, what word would we put in to put them together? If it rains a lot in the winter, yeah. Whether, I couldn't because it's not grammatically correct, but it's still there. Whether it rains a lot in the winter, you can still try. But yeah, if is fine. There is normally enough drinking water if it rains a lot in the winter. Excellent. So if is a big one there. Okay, that's what I was looking for. Okay, and then final one. What would you do this one with? Nuclear power. It's seen as a cheap, clean source of energy. And then nuclear power stations were built in the 70s. What could we say for that? That is the reason why. Okay, good, good, good. Excellent, yeah. And now we've gone through them all. Here are some possible answers. So I'll just do the first three. These linking words are good, like, because they can, in one sentence, you can put two different points in, right? And one is, you've got, then you can show one that's a main clause, and then you can give some extra information that supports the main clause. So you can give extra information, and it lets you to show your English. Yeah. So you've got to think like these are important. This is, it's task 2, even task 1. They want you to show short sentences and long sentences. Okay. Here's the other 2 that we did, and their possible answers here as well. If further water is exactly what I was looking for. So that's great. And you gave me an answer for the final one, which isn't here, but to me, it was perfectly fine to use that answer. What I want you to think about is how to make sure that you can put 2 kind of things together and make a big sentence, because they like that in the writing exam. It's in the band descriptors at 6, band 7, that you try long and short sentences, and you're trying it out. Band 6 expects you to try out long and short sentences. Even if you're not very accurate, it still wants you to do that. Band 7 wants you to be quite accurate, unfortunately, but band 6 definitely wants. Let's look at the lexical resource here, okay? So the candidate can use a range of words, not the same words. That's what you have to be careful of. Like, don't use the same kind of words all the time, or don't use the words from the question too much, you know. For example, keep using tourism, the tourism industry. Think of different forms of the word: tourist, touristy, travel. You know, what kind of industry can you use? Use words flexibly, okay? That means that, you know, when we say drink, or when we say like the business, the tourism business, it's not the tourism business, it's tourist industry. And what can we use to make it sound better? Can we use more everyday English in this that's going to help us? Can we use formal collocations that are going to help write it? So you need to try and think about how to make it more meaningful. Think about that examiner, right? They're reading it and they just hear, you know, if they just read tourism, they want to read different words so they can get a picture in their mind of what is happening. So try to use rope words, and then that means that you try to reduce the impact. Let's have a look at this one. Yeah. Which word is this? Which verb would I use that can go with all of these words? Answers in the chat box. Have a look. What do you think? Which word could I use? Give, yes. Okay, have a look at this one now. Which word could collocate with this? Get a date, no. Set, yes, set. Set fire to, set a goal, set menu, set an alarm, set free, set a date, yes. How about this one? Answers in the chat box. This one's a bit more challenging, this one. I'll be interested to see what you can do. It's not get. And you do think that sometimes, get ahead, get right, but it's not. This one's a very tough one because it does have a proper collocation. And the meaning in English, the literal meaning, is totally different to the collocation meaning. I'll give you 20 more seconds to try and guess this one. Well done, Anne. Dead. Dead. Yeah, when we die. And that's what it means, dead. You're dead. And dead body just means dead body, literally meaning you see a dead body. But when you say dead tired, it means you're very tired. dead end, it means you can't get any further. Dead ahead means it's definitely that way. There's no other way. So the word dead in the collocation, the meaning completely changes. And so this is the interesting part right here. We all know, when we learn languages, we always think we know something. We know this, we're good at that, and we stop studying that one. That's the problem. Don't stop studying anything. Remember what I call the zone. Maybe your vocabulary sounds a bit bigger than your grammar zone. That doesn't mean you can't expand your zone. So keep making your zone bigger and keep progressing as you make that zone bigger. So when you make it bigger, where can you go next? And where can you go from there? That is what's important, okay? How about this one? Answer in the chat box. Born, dangerous, hardened. Some longer words here, right? I'll give you 20 more seconds to look at that, see if you can guess that word. Oh, got a guess. Let's try. Criminal. Dangerous criminal. Master criminal. Common criminal. Born criminal. Hardened criminal. So think about all the adjectives to make a collocation. Okay, I'm going to give you 1 minute now. Okay, 1 minute. Chat box. As many collocations as you can using the word I show you. Are you ready? As many as you can, 1 minute beginning now. In the chat box, what collocations can you use? Lose weight, good. Any more? Lose track. 45 seconds. Any more? Ooh. Lose sight, lose control, lose consciousness. Oh, yes. Lose one's mind, lose my mind. Lose attention. Lose money, lose one's temper. Excellent. Excellent. Okay. All good collocations there. Well done. And I have a few here similar to yours. Very good, guys. That was very lose a chance. Yes, yes, lose a chance. So very, very good here. Looking at all of those. Excellent work. So do remember with vocabulary that to try and use different styles of words where possible, okay? Right, lose the plot, yes. So use use words flexibly. You know, combine words. Use precise meaning. Use words with precise meaning. It helps if you develop this, and again, you can study this, and you can study on and off. You can study at the schools. You can also go out of school, self-study, come back to school. Finally, grammatical range and accuracy, the one people don't like as much. However, if you do coherence and cohesion and longer and shorter sentences, this is going to only help this, and correct word formation helps grammar as well, right? Grammar is communication. That's all it is. Just simple thing is grammar seems like it's big. Whoa. Grammar is communication. It's how we communicate with each other, right? If you look at our language, we have tenses, and that tells you what time we're talking about, what period. You know, so we have to think about that. But of course, when you're trying to do it, you've got to use a range of sentence structures, and punctuation is important today. So have a look at this sentence. If the trend continues, income will increase by 7%. What is incorrect about this sentence? What could I change if I needed to? Is there anything you would change in this sentence right now? Oh, by 2023, sorry, yes. By 2023. That was my fault. And what would you change in that sentence? Anything in particular? Well, I would say you change that, because you're making a kind of prediction. So you've got to think about it as a future perfect tense. How about this one? What would you change in this? What you could change one word in this sentence. Which word would you change? Data in the graph, what would you change data to? What would you change live to? Because they're pretty much content words. You don't really need to say much more. What other word could you change? Information. See, live, you say less people lived in the countryside, but you're comparing less people live in the countryside now to 100 years ago. So live is absolutely fine in this sense. Information, the information in the graph, it's okay. But there's a key one here you would change, is less and fewer, okay? Fewer is countable. Less is not countable, and it's a very common mistake. So think about grammar and how it works. So what would you change here? How would you change the grammar on this one? Think about the third one. What would you change here? Burning cars with high fuel consumption may be a good idea, as it will result in less pollution. Will may be a good idea. Will result. Does that make sense to you? You're saying it's a possibility and then it will definitely happen. But yeah, thank you for that sentence too, that to rewrite it, that's great. The only thing I wanted to show in sentence 2 was less and fewer. What I want you to look at now is may and will. What would you change between may and will? So may, that's 50-50. Will, pretty much definite, 90%. So what would you change? Would result in less pollution. But would is a second conditional word here. So it's not, it's a reality. Will is already there. Might is a possibility. Banning cars with fuel consumption might be a good idea, maybe a good idea, as it could result in less pollution. Because could is 50-50, just like may. So these kind of modals and these kind of certainty have to come together or it doesn't communicate well. Life today will be very different if Thomas Edison didn't invent the electric light. Which word would you change here? Life today will be. Should I change will? We already have will, so what would we change will to? What could we change it to? Have a look. Correct. And then there's another part here. Hadn't invented the electric light. So we have grammar structures can be very, very struggle, right? So let's have a look at one more. Yeah. What would you change in this sentence? Which words would you change in this particular sentence? Okay, so look. The way of life of many people around the world has been changed by contact with many stories. Well done, correct. So as you see, these sentences, the slight grammar errors, but with slight changes, they can be very good sentences. But sometimes with the wrong kind of words, the meaning isn't totally lost, but it can be lost a little. So you have to think about that. And I would say that when doing this, you've got to remember that your linking devices and your vocabulary is going to go into your grammar. The reason the grammar is a little bit more confusing is because it's all together. And so what do I suggest about this? Well, obviously you study grammar as well as prepare for the test. But the big thing I want to say is that you read what you write and check what you write. So in the test, the writing test, you try to finish 5 minutes before you finish. And then read through what you've written and correct any errors that you can see. Okay, and we'll go through that one here. So we've looked at these anyway, so we can say they're all over. So you just got to be careful because basic grammar mistakes can really affect your grammar score in writing. Okay. And you need longer and shorter sentences for a 6. For a 7, you need to be accurate, far more accurate. So just to show you now, British Council, IELTS, says that we do care about you. And we have a Road to IELTS package, okay? And this is all online, okay? It's all developed online. You can buy it. You can get free samples first if you need to. Then you get a progress tracker if you need to as well. Another thing that we do have is, if you need, is we can offer, you know, possible tutorials on it. So have a look at this, because this is self-study that can go along with your school study, right? So always think about how I'm learning English, I'm preparing for IELTS, I'm at home, I'm not at class. Get onto Road to IELTS, do it all, you can look online. And that's how we can work. So you have teacher time, and then you have self-study time, and both are important if you want to develop any kind of learning. So it's very important if you want to prepare for IELTS. And we got a speak up thing where what we can do is you can get 30 minutes by an IELTS expert. You can get instant feedback. You can get questions and ask questions about the IELTS speaking test as well. So we've got a webinar series coming up, and all of them are here. You've got on the 9th about the listening test, and you've got the 10th, British Council IELTS reveals more about IELTS on computer and IELTS on paper. 16th, the speaking test, and 17th is IELTS preparation. So there are webinars all coming up later on this month. Okay, so you've got no worries about that. If you want to book any webinars, let us know. Okay, you've got all the complete IELTS preparation materials that are needed here. It will all be available to you. So if you need to contact us at any time, here we are. These are our numbers. And this is everything that we've got. Contact at any time. Okay. So yeah, today I wanted to just give you a bit more of an idea about task 1 and task 2 of the IELTS writing test. Give you a few hints and tips about it. Interact with you a bit more to show you what, you know, to show you what you think, what you can do, what you may need work on. So thank you for letting me do this webinar today. It's been a great experience. I've really enjoyed it. And I really hope to see maybe some of you again sometime. So now I'm available for any questions that you may have. Okay? So if you've got any questions, you can type them in the chat box and I can answer them now for the next sort of, we've got another 5 or 10 minutes before we will be wrapping up. So any questions you have, please let me know.
Excuse me, when while we're waiting for questions, could we like having a gallery pictures of this webinar today?
Yes, yeah, of course.
Yeah. So could you please stop sharing the screen? So I will ask the student to turn on the camera, and so we could have our picture. Yeah.
Yes.
Các bạn ơi, thì buổi hội thảo chúng ta cũng gần đến phần cuối rồi. Hiện tại là còn phần Q&A và một phần nữa là phần bốc thăm trúng thưởng. Thì bây giờ chúng ta sẽ cùng nhau chụp một cái tấm ảnh lưu niệm nha. Các bạn ơi, các bạn hãy bật camera lên ạ. Và kỹ thuật của AMES sẽ thực hiện một tấm ảnh cho ngày hôm nay của chúng ta. Và rất là cảm ơn các bạn đã tham gia chương trình. Hôm nay chúng ta có rất là nhiều những cái nội dung rất là hay, rất là chi tiết đến từ thầy, và mình thấy các bạn đã thực sự rất là gần như là tham gia hết sức là nhiệt tình và trả lời rất nhiều câu hỏi ở dưới. Buổi hội thảo khá là dài nhưng mà mọi người rất là kiên nhẫn ạ. Vâng ạ. Bây giờ mọi người có thể gửi thêm nữa được không ạ? Có thể bật thêm camera nữa được không ạ? Hiện tại chỉ có một vài bạn bật camera thôi. Chúng ta có thể bật thêm camera một chút nữa đi, khoảng 5-7 bạn nữa để cho cái hình ảnh đẹp hơn. Buổi hôm nay chúng ta sẽ có thêm hình ảnh đẹp hơn. Vâng, các bạn nhìn thấy nhau rồi đấy ạ. Vâng, từ nãy đến giờ 2 tiếng đồng hồ. Yeah, we see so many attendance today. Like, rồi ạ, các bạn thêm một chút nữa đi, các bạn bật thêm đi ạ. Hiện tại các bạn bật thêm đi ạ. Các bạn nếu các bạn không cảm thấy thoải mái thì thôi, nhưng mà các bạn nếu cảm thấy thoải mái và đang ở trước màn hình và đang tham dự thì các bạn hãy bật camera lên, nó sẽ có một tấm ảnh lưu niệm cho buổi ngày hôm nay, đúng không ạ? Dạ vâng, cảm ơn các bạn đã bật cam. Bộ phận kỹ thuật của AMES xin mời chụp ảnh camera ngày hôm nay đi ạ. Chúng ta có thể là bật thêm nữa đi. Mình vẫn mong muốn là có các bạn thêm nữa, tại vì hiện tại vẫn còn hơi ít các hình ảnh ở trên màn hình. Vâng, đúng rồi ạ, nữa đi ạ. Đấy ạ, vâng, hình ảnh đăng lên rất nhiều các bạn, rất nhiều gương mặt rất là thông minh này, sáng giá của chúng ta ở đây 2 tiếng đồng hồ với rất là nhiều các cái thông tin. Thực sự các bạn rất là mệt nhưng mà nhìn các bạn vẫn rất là vui vẻ đấy ạ. Vâng, các bạn có thể thêm một chút hình ảnh nữa không ạ? Vâng rồi ạ. Rất là cảm ơn các bạn ngày hôm nay đã tham dự vào cái buổi hội thảo ngày hôm nay của chúng ta. Chúng ta chỉ còn bây giờ tranh thủ các bạn đang chụp hình một chút thì mọi người có thể là chat box một số câu hỏi đúng không ạ? Để thầy giáo có thể trả lời cho chúng ta. Mọi người có thể thêm một chút câu hỏi chat box ở dưới, và đừng quên là chúng ta hãy chờ một chút. Chúng ta có lucky draw rồi. Chúng ta sẽ có lucky draw để có một chút phần thưởng dành cho các bạn may mắn ngày hôm nay. Vâng, có rất nhiều camera bật lên rồi, cảm ơn các bạn nha. Các bạn tiếp tục bật lên camera giúp mình nha, thêm một lần nữa thôi nha, để mình chụp lần nữa này. Vâng ạ. Vâng rồi, rất là cảm ơn các bạn ạ, rất là cảm ơn các bạn ngày hôm nay ạ. Vâng, bây giờ chúng ta có thể tắt camera rồi. Ở dưới chat box thì cũng chưa thấy có nhiều các câu hỏi. Yeah, I think there's no questions in the chat box. No
Okay.
more questions, yeah. So
If
I
you
think
have any questions, you can just let us know. We've given the contact details, so that's fine. Mm-hmm.
yeah, so I will do the lucky draw part, yeah, for everyone. Rồi bây giờ thì mình sẽ chuẩn bị làm cái phần lucky draw. Mình sẽ stop livestream ở trên YouTube.